Hey guys, welcome to SureFire Live. Thank you for joining me tonight. We got a nice crowd building. My topic tonight was economic worries, economic woes. And so I wore my Rush t-shirt because I got Alan Rush going to join us. And Rush is one of my favorite bands, my favorite drummer ever. I think Neil Peart was the greatest drummer ever of my mind anyway. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm funny. I'm looking at my little coaster says the crisis of today is the joke of tomorrow. So I hope the crisis of today is we can look back what we're going through and remember it a lot like we did in 2008. And again, I don't think we haven't hit anything yet, but there is just, Elon Musk the other day says he feels there's a really, really bad things coming. But before the show, I was doing a little research on this, and it depends on what news outlet you look at to determine what it is. Like if they're left-leaning outlets, there's a lot of positivity about the jobs and the this and that, and the shrinking deficit and the trade deficit. And if you look at right-leaning, it's gloom and doom. So typically the truth is somewhere in the middle in most things. Got a couple comments coming in here. Let's see. We've got, I wish I knew who this was. Said, yo, yo, yo. Hello, Facebook user. And then Chad Murray joins us tonight. Said, howdy, I'm driving, so all ears. Chad, are you driving here? Or you're flying here? I'm sure you're flying here. You're first class, man. What are we talking about? You're not driving here. Let me see if I can see if I got anybody else. I guess I can't see the other comments, but welcome, guys. I so happy to do this. So let's bring on Mr. Alan Rush. Alan, what's up, man?
What up, Rush, man? I like the shirt.
No, man. I'm just thinking about you. Just celebrating.
I saw. I forgot his name now. John Bonham's Jason Bonham about a month or two ago.
Really?
He is now drumming with the Sammy Hagar band with Michael Anthony, and man, cool. He did a solo that would blow your mind. Like I was just like, oh man, I wish I could have seen his dad. So I'll put him up there with a top 10 for sure.
That's cool. Yeah, a couple of more things. Vince says, hi, Mark. Hey, Vince. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Sorry about your Caps not making it through the playoffs like my Preds didn't make it. And then I got another user. Hey, Mark, I wish I knew. I don't like how they do this, but I can't do much about it. He said, no, going to my probably newborn grandbaby is what I think that is. While he drives, he's texting. So thank you for risking it. And then, this is cool. Hasse Olsen from Sweden, good friend of mine, is logging in. Hope you're doing well. Hope to see you in Poland. I don't know if you're going to be at the ESFO meeting. I believe me and Chuck Hall will be there, Hasse. So hopefully we get to see you. Yeah, Jay Walker says Rush Limbaugh could tell us. Yeah, Rush was right up the middle, right? I love Rush Limbaugh. I hate that he's gone. That guy really loved his take on things. But so, Alan, let's talk about, you see things. I want to talk about what we do, but one of my favorite quotes is from, I think it's Fred Smith. He said, I've successfully predicted 11 of the last 3 recessions.
Yeah.
What are you seeing out there? And tonight's topic is going to be, what are we seeing? What should we do? And some of the things, because again, I always feel that sales covers up a lot of sins. And when the economy is good, we think we're better than we are. And when the economy is worse, we think we're worse than we are. So what do you think? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So it's funny. I have different relationships with different clients depending on the services that I do with them. And some of them are just full on coaching and consulting as well. And then I've been having this actually had 2 conversations this morning for an hour each with companies that are, it's so confusing, right? You said it in your opening, depending on who and what you listen to, you're getting completely conflicting information. And I did the same research that you did, and I see the same patterns that you see. Of course, if with a sitting Democratic president, you would expect the Democrats to give more hope. All right, things are not as bad as we think. We're going to be fine, and you would expect the opposite from Republicans. So I do think you hit it, that the truth is somewhere in the middle. But I'm going by reality. Almost everywhere that I'm across the country, from California to New York down to Nashville, Knoxville, I'm seeing up. And when I say up, I mean revenues up and profits up. So I am certainly seeing a slowdown in phones over the last month or so. Definitely seeing people that are in non-rain markets suffering quite a bit more, needing that leaky chimney to kind of make the phone ring. So we're seeing a slowdown in opportunities. My advice to people right now is just to be careful on leveraging, right? Let's not do too much when it comes to the leveraging side of things, but we can play a lot of things by ear. So had a conversation this morning with a client that's considering adding 2 trucks. And so, well, do I do it or do I not do it? Right. Well, let's make sure we have the people there first, right? Make sure that they're trained up so that if you need the trucks, we can always add trucks. But this goes back to what we've talked about 100 times, knowing your numbers, right? How much does an opportunity bring to you? And if your schedule gets out too far, do you know how many opportunities you're losing? And at what point does the loss opportunity overtake the investment to open a new truck? And as long as you know those numbers, you can absolutely grow smart. But I'm not seeing, at least right now, a slowdown. The stats that I'm seeing is there's about a 30% chance of a minor kind of recession is what I'm going through. If you look at the World Bank, it's not great. If you look at if you look at the jobs report, it does look good. So I think you have to weigh in everything. The one thing that we know for sure is people are spending more money on everything. So just disposable income or priority income is we're definitely going to have a much tougher sales process, even when we get in front of people, just due to the money can only spread so far. So depending on what happens with the Fed, how many times the interest changes, how we, I think we have a chance to battle this inflation correctly. But if we don't, we talked about this when we were in Indy. Chimney guys tend to get through recessions pretty well if they position themselves in a way that their clients need them. And so I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's kind of I have more positive than negative. I mean, I'm seeing a slowdown in phones, but almost every one of my clients is up in revenue and up in profit right to date.
So I can tell you we're not up in profit. We are up in revenue, but my profit has dwindled badly because of my rising. Our sheet metal shop, it was $80 a sheet for stainless. Now it's $200. Copper is off the roof. Out of the roof. Gas. I mean, my gas bill, and this is, for me, it's a lot. For some people, it'd be crazy, but I was spending about $10,000 a month in gas for my fleet, and now it's $30,000 a month in fleet.
Yep.
And so, our battle, and we already raised our prices 6 times this year, or 7 times, I think, and now we're facing an 8th. So, at what point are we outpacing what people will buy? How many times will they spend $10,000 to fix a chimney before they go, you know what, I'm going to wait on that? Or, I'm finding a battle starting to happen where people are asking for more. Like before, it was like, when can you do it? Yes. And how fast can you do it? But right now I'm finding that people are slowing down the rush a little bit,
Yep.
and that they're getting another estimate, that they are kind of, pricing us quite a bit. I got a couple of comments. Hase says he plans on this was my question about Poland. He's going to be there, and his wife, Peter, good friends of ours. We've done a lot with them. I think he's asking, do the Ukrainian war affect you in the same way? And so I'll hit that. And then also Jay Walker says metal on gas is crazy, as gas fireplace parts. So For me, I'm definitely, we had our CFO meeting today, and we've got a budget meeting next week. And, where do you get the money? So to Hase's question, does the Ukrainian war affect us? I would say yes. I would say that I don't know, this is not my strength, but for sure, prices were tending up before the war, and now they're really tending up. And you can't have a conflict like that with all this and it not affect us. I don't know, the details of how it affects us. I just know my cost of doing everything, getting a truck to your driveway has gone up exponentially. There were times I didn't change my prices for 2 years. Like I could run my same prices for a couple of years and be okay. Now that's not a good business practice, but I can't keep my prices the same for freaking 30 days right now without it drastically affecting my whole operation. And so let's talk about how do you sell. And really, I think what we're going to talk about is stuff you should be doing in a good economy or a bad economy.
That's right.
So talk about how you sell. And I want to talk about some of the ideas I have as well.
Yeah, well, I think you hit. I mean, everybody that I'm talking about that's up, and I'd be lying if I said all of my clients were up. I have several people that are like you, that revenue's up and profits down, and most of the time that's because they haven't been paying attention to their numbers as closely as they should, and they're not making the necessary adjustments that they need to. All their suppliers are raising their prices 6-8 times a year, and they're staying the same. And of course, you're going to take a hit in profit if that's the case. So making sure that you understand your numbers and that you like you just did, adjust accordingly. And at some point, you will outpace the market. At some point, you are going to get to the point where your market says that's enough. But before that happens, you have the internal battle first with your people. When you have your team that is used to selling stuff at price point A, and now it's at price point B, C, D, E, F, G, H. They feel that, as
Right.
That little voice we talk about all the time. They feel it's expensive, therefore their confidence has gone down, and that shows to the customer. So a lot of this.
Let's just talk about that point real quick before we move on. I worry that me worrying, you're speaking into an existence. You're saying we're worried, so then you're casting a shadow across your company that is making some of it come to fruition.
Yeah.
Like I worry about like what you just said. Hey, I'm used to selling chase covers at whatever the number is, $650 or $800, whatever your number is. And then all of a sudden it's $300 more, $400 more for whatever it is. And now do you feel the same confidence in selling that damper that you used to sell for $300? Now you sell it for $1,000. Like, are you serious? Like, and then we have this internal thing that we know the value of and how hard it was and what it used to be.
Yep.
And we tie our sales process into that because we're almost sabotaging ourselves.
It's self-fulfilling. I see it across the board. If you feel it's expensive, your customer feels it's expensive. There's just no way around it, right? I mean, and so one of the beautiful things about doing what I do is I do get to travel the country and I see price points across the board. And I would never disclose anyone's individual price points, but take a sweep, for example. I've got people that charge as little as $200 for a sweep and inspection with a camera. I've got people that charge $600 for a sweep and inspection with a camera. So if you were to take an office person that is trying to sell $200 sweeps and put them in, and then all of a sudden told them, hey, we're now charging $600, they probably wouldn't close a single deal, right? Just because they're like, that's insane. I mean, there's no way people are going to pay that. And the same thing with our technicians, right? When you're used to selling that chase cover for $600 and now you're saying, hey, it's $1,500, right? It is, you have to have that confidence. Keep in mind, your customers have never been through this. It's the same exact objection that you're going to get. It's like giving someone a discount without telling them, hey, I'm going to save them a couple $100 and I'm going to help them out. Well, they still think it's expensive. They don't even know that you saved them $200. So you got to look at it from the opposite side, that your team needs to know that, look, you could almost literally double your prices and your clients will still pay it if you go through the process. Now, if you're trying to sell chimney products, yeah, you're gonna lose. You're gonna commoditize yourself. But if you follow the sales process that we've talked about so much of, why am I here? How can I help you? What happens if we don't do it? The price really is, it's in the technician's head more than reality. Now, one other point on that, I am seeing some of what you're seeing as well, where people are a little bit slower to make decisions. There's a little uncertainty on, like, hey man, I'm not quite sure where the economy is going. Maybe I'll hold off a little bit. And my battle to that is, look, hey man, totally get it. In the history of chimneys, we all know the language. No chimney's ever gotten better. At this point, it's best case scenario. It will cost more money if we do it later. And I'm honest with customers. I've had 6 price increases this year, and not this is the first time we've ever had to do this. But my manufacturer's supply chain has come to me, and I don't know what my pricing is going to look like in 6 months from now or a year from now. That's why I can only honor my proposals for whatever 2 weeks or 30 days, and that becomes a sales tool to, one, more expense down the road, but 2, uncertainty to the customer on your end. Buckle that with financing, and you've got a pretty safe sell.
On my other feed coming in, Cody Whitwood says, "Chimney time, baby. Hello to a couple great guys." And Cody kind of says the same thing here in Texas. We keep getting price rejection. That's twice what we quoted last year. We politely remind them that everything has doubled. It's if not tripled. He says, at Masters, we have a price warning on every job that states the price is only guaranteed for 15 days.
Yeah.
And to that, people will buy. People are afraid of loss. And so they buy to avoid loss more than anything. They avoid pain and avoid loss. And so to Cody's point, he's helping them avoid more loss by putting a date on this and a situation. We've talked about this a little bit before, that warning them of future loss is a sales tactic, is it not?
It is. It's FOMO, right? It's that there's all of that, but the reality is, when I'm just so straightforward with my customers. It's like, hey man, I kind of want to wait and see what happens here. You absolutely have that right, Mr. Customer. But let's just talk about what could happen, right? I have had 6, 7 price increases. That trend could continue. This project could be significantly more next year. Let's just say, hey, everything turns around, and all of a sudden my prices are 5% cheaper next year. And yes, you made a great decision not buying today because you would save 5% next year. What are the odds that the deterioration of your system are going to be more than 5%? I would bet very heavily that it is. So even though the price per job may be lower, the damage is more, so therefore the whole scope is larger. And those are the unknowns we can't tell you. And I'm very straightforward with my customers on that.
I've never had a price decrease. Even so, it's not going backwards. Like Darren Bebo with National, I was talking to him. He's like, dude, once these prices go up, they don't go back. You might have a sale on a thing, you might have a temporary discount, but prices don't go back.
Yep.
And so to that point, it's not going back here. We hope we have to increase prices and have more revenue, but those numbers, once they jump like this, they don't jump back. Right? The only thing ever jumps back is like technology, like computers got cheaper for more, or stay the same for more. But services, my expenses, wood did that. Like plywood went crazy and it kind of came back. But in general, I'm worried that this, Jay Walker says it will be hard to decrease in prices. Hase says in Europe, most people are expecting higher prices because all prices are rising more than the salary. We use all workers to explain why it costs more. Yeah. I'm not sure what he meant by that. That's Swedish translation. Come on, Hase, you know better. No, but I think to his point, everybody knows it's not going back. It's probably not coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a little trend, not a major trend, but I'm seeing a little trend in the surcharge game. I'm seeing some people doing fuel surcharges. I'm seeing some people doing even stainless surcharges. I'm seeing some things like that are in their proposals as a surcharge. I haven't had enough data to find out if that technique is working, if it's good, if it's bad, but it's certainly easier to remove a surcharge than it is to reduce a price. So, and people get supply chain right now. People get everything's expensive. Yeah. People get, we got to pay more. So, again, I'm just not.
I'll ask a question to the people watching. Are you adding a surcharge for gas or some type of stainless? Are you adding a surcharge that's like another line item that is maybe temporary. I've seen back when gas went crazy, there was a surcharge and it did go away. But in general, like we're fighting with that battle. Do we add that $10 or $20 to a service call that's a line item that's a gas service charge? I know I'm getting it a bunch. Several of my delivery services have this line that says this gas surcharge, and it kind of pisses me off every time I read it.
Yep.
But I also have to understand it, and I need their product. I mean, okay, I need it. And so here's a couple. It says, yes, I have a trip charge of $50 on every call. So that's it. The trip charge may be different than a surcharge. So,
well, to that person, were they always doing it for free, and then now they charge 50 because of the increase in prices? And if that's the case, that would be kind of the same thing. But
say that again. What'd you say?
So, to the person that said they now charge $50, did they used to do it for free? Right. And they're now adding 50 because of the added expenses that would be a equivalent of a surcharge.
So I'm getting some nice comments. Jay says no surcharge, raise price across the board. My friend Eric Thompson. Hey Eric, how you doing? My business is not adding additional costs to our customers.
Wow.
So I'm not sure Eric's business. I know he's not in the chimney business. Eric's a super smart guy. He's smarter than us. But I don't know his business totally, but I know some businesses I'm not doing that. So another one says no one cares when we explain. So I guess they accept it. Vince says not on our sweep inspect price. We just add it to the price of service. Repairs, we have a truck charge and we have increased that. Another no surcharge. They raise prices. Yes, somebody charged. It was free, but now it's 50. So he answered your question. Daniel Gainey says, we're increasing our inspection cleaning prices due to gas prices. And then Rodney Bailey says he is not going to participate in the recession.
There you go.
I like that. Focus on efficiency. So that's a good point too. Focusing on efficiency. That's what we're doing right now. And I want you to leave, but I want to then say what we're doing. How can people be more efficient out there?
Well, I think number one is you got to, for your financial people, is if you're doing this yourself, you probably need to reach out to someone else. But going through your P&L and just doing we just did this morning, quarter to quarter, month to month, year to year, and just literally go through and look at the indicators that are standing out, right? Where are we having an increased cost that we don't expect it? I mean, everybody's insurance is going up, so there's some things that we expect, but there's some things that we don't, right? And so making sure that everything is in line from a P&L standpoint, that's probably number one. And then making sure all your percentages are in line with cost of goods to your labor, your percentages, your commissions, all that stuff, your overhead, and your profit expectations. And then probably one of the biggest ones is, sorry to any of the vendors that are listening to this, is just really taking a look and seeing if there's any wiggle room on anything with your contracts, with your your vendors. If there's anything, hey, if I sign a new 2-year agreement, can we reduce our cost, phones, insurance, whatever it is, finding ways to get more lean. And then one of the biggest ones with gas the way it is right now is routing, right? It gets really, really hard to route efficiently if you have a large service area when the pickings are so slim, right? I mean, you could have a perfect route in October, November, but when you get into July and August, maybe we only have 10 appointments. I may have to send a guy an hour, to get him to that appointment. So I've been encouraging people to start breaking up into quadrants, right? North, south, east, west. On Mondays we go this side, even if it means your customer has to wait an extra week. That difference in going 40 miles across however many trucks you have every day will make a difference. I mean, you said you're spending $30,000 on gas. I mean, come on. I mean, those are some quick places to just look.
We are experimenting with that right now. We call it sectors. So we divided into Nashville into five pie pieces. And, you can run a guy in a sector for a while, and then he could bounce sector to sector if he had to, but not across the boards.
Yep.
And we're also opening up how long our service appointment window was. And, we used to kind of keep it in about a 2-hour window. We'd be there 8 to 10. sometimes 8:30 to 9:30. Our first appointment would be like within an hour window, but we've opened those up to 4-hour time frames. We didn't used to do that, and we used to get a lot of pushback from customers. But now with you can communicate, and it lets us move things easier for routing in a 4-hour time frame. But we never used to like to do it because I got a lot of pushback from customers. But those two things, quadrant routing and also bigger time frames for us to, or while we're on our job, we can stay there and work. We find the work and we can go ahead and do it at that time. So we don't have another trip out. Everybody understands, hey, look, if I've got to come back and do this, it's an extra $100. Everybody knows why. But if I can do it now and I have time to do it, then there is a better chance of one, landing that job, the fear of loss, so you can do it right then. And my guys have more time to do it because of the schedule is more flexible. You make double the money. If you can go ahead and sell something on the spot and do it, you've made double the money because you don't have to take a time slot in the future. You don't have the gas. You don't have the setup. You don't have everything. You can do the lintel seam gap. You can do the waterproofing. You can put the damper on. You can do some of the easy stuff that you should have on your truck. And to Rodney's point, focusing on efficiency, that's being efficient.
Yep. Totally agree. 100%. Having, the ice cream truck mentality, all the low hanging fruit on your truck, being able to
talk about that. Talk about the ice cream truck. It's been a thing that we've said for years, but talk about that as being an efficiency way to sell.
I mean, anything, I look at it. So there's this trend right now of labor per day, right? Not even a trend. It's just everybody is like, how much labor per day do I need? And so when you start looking at certain items, there's no way to do that profitably if you're using the labor per day number, right? Let's just say your number's whatever, $2,000, and you're breaking that up into hourly, which is, I'm terrible with math on the spot, but let's just say $150 an hour, right? Well, if you were going to charge someone by the hour for a lintel seam or a firebox repair plus your minimum trip charge to go out there, you'd have to charge them $600-700, right, to do a $50 repair. Whereas if you have those things on your vehicle, you can come somewhere in the middle of that, like you said, double your money, double the commission for your guy, add an extra slot for that guy to sell in the future or do production in the future. So ice cream truck stuff to me is all your sealers, all your repellents, right? Your, even if you're doing, let's not get on the single flue cap, but if you have single flue caps and you're not doing custom caps, having the common sizes there, having your top mount dampers, your common sizes, having obviously all your mortar stuff. You can do a quick firebox tuck point or a lintel seam or fill a gap of a gas line, gaskets, ropes on stoves, fire brick, flash seals, crown seals, water repellents, all those types of things are things that typically, as long as you're giving your team enough time in their windows, that you can knock that stuff out, still make huge profit on it and serve your customer. And once you have done one thing with your customer, unless you just really screw that up, that customer is now your customer for life. So the bigger stuff is going to come. I can go ahead and take care of this while I'm here. I'll come back and do this later. And once you get that first transaction, you're now their chimney person. So
right. It's also that mentality. I know Lindemann talked about it a while ago, that a couple of years ago, that even if they bid a big job, if they can start part of it when they're right there, it kind of locks the job in.
Yep.
Like the customer says, hey, it's, $8,000 and we don't have time to do it all day, but I could do this, go ahead and fix this gas line leak, or I can go ahead and get some of the work done so we can focus on other things, or I can go ahead and do the inside work right now. And we set up scaffold and all this stuff later. Like, I don't know what it is, but I think being efficient with your time already in the house is a interesting and very, like, we focus on upsells for the day. And I noticed that lately we haven't really had that many upsells for the day. And so we're refocusing back on it again. Like, guys, you're in the house. Gas is expensive. Let's do everything we can to do the thing. A couple more things. Helps that more people work from home now for the 4-hour window. That's a very insightful comment. We all need higher prices to earn money. We need for adjunction and a new, I think this is from, this might be from Jans or from Hase. To save gas, we are planning more carefully for every single car and explain it to the customer, right? So they use different vehicles over there. Some of them don't even have ladders. They don't have to, they can just climb up there. But so his point is being more efficient. Back to, I think Rodney's thing was focus on efficiency, draw back, because sales covers up a lot of sins. Rising economy makes you feel like you're a genius. And now all of a sudden you don't feel so confident in yourself. This guy says, try selling more waterproofing. Absolutely. I think everything needs to be waterproofed at all times. If it's in good shape, if it's in bad shape, waterproofing should be, it's just the best thing that most of us can do.
Almost everybody I train has heard this, but every single masonry chimney that I go to at a bare minimum is getting somewhere between a $4,000 to $5,000 proposal, even if it was built yesterday. Right. I mean, it could be the most perfect chimney on the planet, and it's still getting that water package, right? I'm still sealing the flashing. I'm still sealing the crown. I'm still water treating, water repellent. I'm still putting an outside mount cap, right? I mean, it's an investment into longevity and against future repairs for that customer. So you got to the little things. When we talk about efficiency, if you guys are not tracking opportunity rate, and that's different than sales per opportunity. Opportunity rate is how many times does your technician go into a home versus how many times does he make a proposal, right? So that's the opportunity that we've presented something beyond what the office is sold, right? And typically this time of the year, a lot of people are going through previous customers, they're going through forward scheduling, and we see that percentage drop. And most of the time it's an excuse. It's a habit that the technician has made that, oh, this is a previous customer, or hey, we've already done this work and therefore this is not an opportunity. I'm just going to go and run the brushes, check everything, and get out of there, man. There is just, you will have a tough time convincing me that, especially if we're talking masonry, that there is not something almost every single time that we go out. Now, if we've already sold them everything, that's one thing. If it's a warranty call, great. But I mean, blacking out fireboxes, gas line holes, lintel seams, waterproofings. I mean, there's just so. I mean, hey, maybe this time that they want to talk about gas logs. I mean, there's just, if you will work towards it, don't. People tend to think previous customers are unprofitable. I've got one client that tracks their numbers so well that they actually find out that they make more money on a higher dollar per customer on their previous customers than they do their new customers. You would never convince me that was true if I didn't see that data.
I think that's definitely true year 2 and 3. Like I've seen some people that have an amazing, repeat customer program, but I've watched it diminishing returns after 5-7 years. You're just going out to see Miss Smith and everything has been done. But I can definitely see that year 1, they weren't ready for it. Year 2, maybe not. 3 years down the road, like I can definitely see tracking that. I like Corey Sabo. He just joined us. He was in our Milwaukee office. He just joined us this week in Nashville to help us with sales. He's very good. We need to have him on the show too about in-home sales, insurance work too. Our database has a CRM that our techs can see everything done on every conversation or So, and that's key. But also, let me just say that I saw something happen to me this week that kind of frustrated me, that I know it happens sometimes when I got our guys going to people's homes. I went to Lowe's for, I was buying new appliances because I'm getting ready to redo my kitchen. And I'm wanting all new appliances, and I don't buy the cheap stuff. I'm looking at the very premium things because that's what I like to buy. As a customer, I'm going to buy probably one of the most expensive things if it's the nicest, coolest thing. That's what I like to buy. But the salesperson did not read that at all. She kept trying to give me the cheapest thing they had. Every time I would pick something, she would say, well, this one is actually a lot more affordable. And look how much money you would save on this one or that one. It happened like 4 or 5 times. And I finally had to say, look, I appreciate that, but I am buying a kitchen that I don't want to have to buy again. I'm buying appliances that I want to look good for a long time. I don't want to buy appliance that looks good now, but it's going to be out of date in a couple of years. Like I'm leaning to I'm your premium customer. I'm not asking prices at all. I want to buy what I want to buy, but she kept coming back to the cheapest thing. And how many times do you see guys just revert back to their thinking? I want the cheapest thing I can get, and that's not what the customer wants.
Classic little boys, right? They're not their you're not they are not their customer. They wouldn't buy that, so they assume no one else would buy that. And
Right.
you need to just have this saved on your phone when someone does that to you and be like, "Have you seen Blue Collar Millionaire? Do you know who you're talking to?" I mean, change that conversation real quick. But no, I mean, we see this, and I've never been a fan of the good, better, best type stuff, but I do have some clients that pull it off really well and are able to sell things that they otherwise wouldn't have sold. Like, I mean, I rarely ever present copper, right? I mean, this is a flaw in my game. Now, obviously, if they have anything copper on their home, copper flashing, copper gutter, something like that, I'm going to absolutely offer copper. But my go-to is stainless, right? There's some people their go-to is galvanized, right? Because stainless feels too expensive. I can back down to galvanized if I want to, but the good, better, best mentality says, here's what I've recommended, but also, we have these other options as well, and letting the customer upsell themselves, and that works in those types of situations. So I think we just get so comfortable. It goes back to that price point, that we get so comfortable at selling the same thing. We know we're good at it. We have confidence in it. And then anything beyond that we wouldn't buy, we don't have as much confidence in, whether that's price or product.
In 2008, when I crashed my business, and those of you who know my story know that I was like a $1.2 million business, but 17 employees. So I was really heavy on employees for that revenue number. But worse than that, I didn't know my numbers, and I didn't have a good sales process. I didn't have a good leadership process. And when the economy tanked, when gas prices went this, stock market went that, housing market went down, I lost my business. Basically, I went down to working by myself. Me and my son, he's 14 years old. I got in the truck and just started doing all the work again. But right before that, I remember all my guys that were sweeps and selling stuff like, man, nobody's buying anything. Man, nobody wants to buy anything. Like, they just kept telling me that nobody's buying anything. And I believed them because I watched the numbers. They weren't selling anything. Boom. I had to let everybody go. It was the worst day of my life. I started all the way over by myself, and I got out in the truck and started going into the houses, and magically everybody started buying everything again.
Yeah.
And very quickly they were buying everything that I was selling. I was able to get another truck going, and another truck and another truck, just on what I was selling. I had these guys working part-time because I didn't know if it was going to last, but all of a sudden I sold my way out of a recession. I sold my way. I grabbed my own shovel and dug myself out of the thing. And I won't blame the president, or I don't blame anything other than the guy who's looking at me in this camera right now, that it was my fault for crashing. Yeah, there were exterior circumstances, but this thing was my fault. And if you're crashing your business, it's going to be your fault. You can blame anybody you want, but this is your baby. And you have, there's 95% of what happens to you is your fault, and 5% maybe exterior things, but you're the one who can save it, and you have to save it.
So true.
That was an open-ended question for you to just riff on.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, are you making excuses or are you making results, right? I mean, it's the I've given this quote so many times. I see it every day when I walk in my wife's gym, because it's her gym, not mine. And I'm sorry you didn't get the results for the work that you didn't put in, right? Yeah. And you've got, like, we have probably 6 months of foresight right now that we could be. What are you doing today? What are you doing right now to plan worst case scenario, best case scenario, middle ground? What is a potential, if you had to let go of people, if you had to let go of trucks, what does that look like? What do your numbers look like there? If you have to raise prices again, at what point does the loss in close rate still make sense because you're selling more in per job? So knowing all those situations, so that when whatever trigger happens, maybe nothing happens and we just keep going on. But if you wake up 6 months from now and all of a sudden that we're in a recession and you're like, oh my God, what do I do now? That you've wasted this last 6 months. And so that's the reason I think that we're trying to get this out there, is to let people plan and prepare, and do you know what you're going to do no matter what happens, and you have options. That's the key.
I think you have to go on the offensive. Like, we're used to sitting back and having everything come to us, phones ringing off the hook. Everybody wants us. We're busier than we can stand. We're just used to that happening. And when it changes, it's the who moved my cheese situation where you're like, I'm sure the cheese is coming back. I just got to wait here. The cheese is going to be here. And then the cheese dries up and you got to go get the cheese, man. You got to go find it. You got to find a different route. You got to go to a different room. You got to get on the phone. You know how you make cheese happen? That phone. This phone right here makes cheese happen. If you're slowing down, get on the phone. You got a huge amount of data in your database that you probably don't access. It's a fortune in there. If you think you've got waste in other areas of your business, you got waste in your data that you're not mining, doing, mailing to, phone calling, texting, all those things. We just sit on like, man, my cheese has moved. I'm sure it's going to come back.
It's a great book. One of the very first books I remember reading, that and Give 'Em the Pickle. You ever read Give 'Em the Pickle?
No.
Great book.
What's the premise?
Long story short, it was
it sounds like a bad premise.
No, it's nothing wrong. It was a deli in New York. Maybe it's been like 30 years since I read it, but they always gave away a pickle with their sandwiches, right? You get sandwich chips and a pickle. And then one day management came in and started looking at, the overhead and numbers and say, hey, we got to start charging for pickles, right? And so, customers started coming in and it's like, hey, why is my bill, 25 cents more? Oh, well, we're charging you for the pickle. And the people started like, what the heck, and so it becomes this whole battle of how do you cover costs, but at the same time, present value to a customer. And at what point do you just give them the pickle? Right. And so it's a really good kind of a short story that's worth reading. But and so what we're talking about right before that, we were just being proactive. And I sent you a message on this last week. I did a shameless plug on my weekly video series. I just did a video on what can your technicians do to generate their own opportunities, right? And one of the things that has been working great, if you don't have your guys doing this right now, is having them join their local neighborhood groups, right? Whether it's next door, I think there's no Neighborly, there's like 2 or 3 Facebook groups, whatever it is, right? I literally saw a person advertise on my local Facebook group, a community group of the city, offering dryer vent cleanings, and within, he was given a special. He was, hey, I'm a vet, I'm a firefighter, hey, I'd love to, help you out. I'm in your neighborhood. And I sit there in 12 hours, watch this guy book 22 jobs. Yeah. And I'm like,
I saw it too.
Just absolutely amazing. So having your guys say, hey, I live in your neighborhood. I am your, brothers and sisters next door. This is what I do for a living. I'd love to come make sure that your family's okay. I'd love to make sure your fireplace is good. I'd love to make sure you don't have any unexpected expenses coming up. And just having your people generate their own opportunities, and maybe even consider incentivizing your guys to do that if you have a trackable lead.
It's the new style guerrilla marketing. I remember back in the day, J. Conrad Levinson wrote the book Guerrilla Marketing, and when I didn't have any money, I read that book, and it was like all the things you could do for very little money to drum up business. Yeah. And man, that book, and then he revisited that a few times. But what you're saying is that old school guerrilla marketing. Yep. Get everybody, all hands on deck, many hands make light work, and let's all dig, and let's all do something different than we haven't done. All movement has to generate revenue. Like, I've got handfuls of my areas of my business that aren't revenue generating, and I've got to flip those to somehow either not lose money or not just be an overhead or generate revenue during this time. And a couple quick things. Vince says, what are you hearing how long this recession is going to last? I'm hearing 3 years, couple 7 years. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Clearly nobody does, but I can tell you this. Now, recession and depression are different things. Recession can last a while, but most really hard depressions or things don't last more than about 18 months to 2 years from all things I've seen. It can be the roughest 2 years of your life, and it's life-changing because you lose a lot of stuff. Stuff is really different, and you have a lot of stories from it. We all do. But again, to know that typically in American history, barring wars and things like that, which, can be on the horizon too, but typically it doesn't last that long. We do things, we shift things, the world shifts, and we don't stay in it. But you have to understand, we have been through one of the longest economic positive times ever. And to think it won't end at some point is not realistic. I don't like it. I want to act like it, but I also understand that the majority of the recession and how we respond to it is up to Ashbusters, not the president or whoever I disagree with or whatever. If recession drops, I'm screwed. Mark, are you hiring? Maybe. I'll hire. I think this is JJ. If it's JJ, I can't tell, but that sounds like something JJ would say. But yes, I would hire JJ. He would be a live wire in my company. Let's see. Let me just go back. Oh, cool. By the way, Chad is not here. This is Cody Whitwood. By the way, Chad's not here because he's a grandpa now. Sounds like Chad just had a baby.
Congrats, Chad.
Chad's daughter had a baby. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. So Mark, this is Cody again. Do you hire for guys that work the quadrant they live in? That's interesting, Cody. We do have one technician that's very far north of Nashville, and we try to run him. He's almost in Kentucky. Well, one of them is in Kentucky. So for us, it's kind of a bit north. And he does focus in that. How's that dog doing?
Sorry.
That's okay.
Somebody's at the door.
But yes, Cody, to answer your question, we do have a guy that we work in that area, and we'd like to do more of it. We're really going to have to focus on routing better than we do.
Can I touch on that? Because
yeah.
I've seen the good and bad of that, right? First of all, I think it depends on do you dispatch from your office or do you dispatch from home? Obviously, if you dispatch from home, then yes, having that kind of thing can work. What I have found is animosity gets built within the team when you dispatch from the office, and someone always gets the same area because there is whether it's true or not, a lot of times it is true. There's good areas, there's bad areas, right? There's like in Nashville, like, if I had the Green Hills, Franklin, Brentwood area versus the Madison, Antioch area,
yep.
There's definitely going to be a difference there in opportunity and sales. So if you're doing sectors, I do generally recommend that you rotate through each sector. But if you are, I've got several clients like this that are creating they're dispatching, like they've increased their service areas about 6-8 hours because they have people that are live 3 hours intentionally, right? Hiring people to dispatch from that. They come to the office once a week, get all their stuff, they go out, and then they dispatch that little circle around there. Now that's a completely different game plan than what I think what Cody's talking about.
Cody, to your point, I think that would depend. Do I want to open up that area that they live in? Like, I remember I tried to do this in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Like, I had a guy driving from Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm like, you know what? Let me open Ashbusters Bowling Green, and you can just run it from there. He was a good technician, and he was driving an hour and a half one way every day, then working all day, and then going back. And it was just, let's try, that. But he wasn't the right guy to open the branch. And that absolutely was a big waste of money and time because I tried to do it for him in the quadrant he lived in, and that was a mistake. It really goes back to your planning, what you want as a company. If I wanted to open that area and he happened to fit it, that's one thing, but I tried to make it fit for him. Now, that being said, I did the same thing. We opened our Charleston office, Charleston, South Carolina. I didn't want to open Charleston, South Carolina, but my number one technician wanted to move there. And I said, well, just start your own chimney business. And he's like, well, I like working for you. I just want to work down there. And I'm like, I was going to open a branch office anyway, and I wasn't going to open it there, but we did some research. It looked good. And we opened. It took a while to get going. And, we've been down there 8 years, and it's good. We got several people, and it's a very good operation. But most of the time I don't do that, Cody. But if you've got a star player and there's something that you need to be flexible about, I definitely want to do that. I don't do that for new guys that they have no track record with me. Another one. Let's see. we have storage units that we stock in areas. That means we have access as needed, right? This keeps down on coming back from the shop. Works for us, right? That's probably a pretty good plan, like almost like drops for your people, and stuff is in this area for standard things, so you don't have to carry it on the van, and you've got a drop area. So I like that idea. Let's see here. JJ says, start detailing barbecues like I did today. You know, there's companies that do that. They clean barbecues. You don't want to see I freaking caught my damn big green egg on fire this 2 days ago, cooking pork belly burnt ends. And if Chuck Roydhouse is listening, he knows I like this recipe. And I messed up, and I walked inside with my lid up, freaking caught the whole thing on fire. Burned. I got it like a shade over top of, it's a fabric shade over top of my kitchen. Burned it up. I mean, it was a disaster. You should see that. Hold on, I'm going to show. I know this is off topic, but who cares? Let me see if I can show. I'm going to show this video of what happened. Probably a terrible thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so this is after this is what happened to my barbecue burnt ends. Let me see if I can. So I don't know if you could see those.
They look burnt.
This is me picking them up.
Oh no, Ash.
Yeah, and so they.
Well done.
So I think I look above me. Oh no, I don't. So let me just show you. This is what they looked like before. They were looking good, right? They were looking really good. And then this. Let me see if I can play this. So this is them, and then I'm looking up, and I caught the damn thing on fire on top of me.
Nice.
And then look, it's over on the side, but my dang lighter fluid caught fire too. Almost caught fire too. It's just. So yeah, so JJ, I'm not in the barbecue cleaning business right now, other than my own. So
you can have him come and clean yours. Test
yeah,
out his skill.
You know what? I'll fly you to Nashville. Come help me. I obviously need help. All right, what else, Alan? We've got about 10 more minutes. Chuck Roydhouse he sent me a message before this because he just wrote an article about this and stagflation. And I told him if we had time, I'd get him on, but I think he needs more than 5 minutes. So Chuck, stay on. Or not stay on. I'll bring you on another one of these episodes to talk about what you found. And I think it can be helpful. But so what else, Alan? What else, so we can close out and kind of leave everybody with a note, positive or negative note? What should we know?
Well, I think let's keep on your guerrilla marketing, right? Because I mean, for especially those that have only had a company for like the last 10 years, they really don't know anything other than success, right? They don't know anything other than, man, this business thing's pretty easy, right? Chimneys are great. People are lining up. They're paying prices. I'm booked out 3-4 weeks. I've got the phones off the hook. I can raise my prices. People are still coming. That's all they know. And so when that starts to shift, there's going to be some probably overreaction, right? There's going to be some extreme fear, right? There's going to be some nervousness. All of a sudden, the security blanket doesn't feel as secure. And so a lot of times right now we have to slow growth, right? We actually have to, we slow growth through not doing spending as much on marketing, through not doing certain initiatives, through raising pricing to throttle workflow with our crews. And so that, just know that it can flip, right? You always say you have to have the foundation, and then once you have the foundation, you pour the fire on it, and we can add as much to it that we want. Well, the fire is going to be you with the crews that you have, right? So the simple things, be it the BNIs, how great are your relationships with realtors? How great, most people hate realtors. Man, I love realtors. Let me go take you some breakfast and tell you about how I can help your business, how I can help you better serve your clients, how you can bring good leads to me, right? Are you creating relationships with plumbers in your area, with HVAC companies, with people that are dealing with the units but don't want to drop liners? Like, not everybody's buying high efficiency these days. There's opportunities for you. And I've got one client that literally they have a crew that's all they do is just drop 3 to 4 liners every single day, just literally dropping 4 or 5 inch liners down. Nice 8x8 blues. It's the graviest job that anyone would ever sign up for, right? So
it must be in the Northeast.
They're around. They're in the U.S. But so
there's one place that happens.
yeah, right. If they were all that easy, right? But what are you doing? I mean, what other product lines are you looking at? Are you surveying your market, right? Gas is a trend. How deep are you in gas? Like, are there other product lines that you can do? I mean, dryer vents is always. I did another video on dryer vents like 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's when you start looking at the math of if you do it as an add-on service while you're in the home. Let's say we normally charge $299, but hey, while I'm here, it's $150 or whatever the case is. If your people will do just literally one of those, just do one of those a day. I mean, you're talking an additional $750 a week times 50, 50 weeks is 35 grand, and so if you guys are making, whatever percent of commission, that's a huge number to add to someone's pocket when you're already in the home. So all these things that we didn't have to do because business was so easy, especially to your sales guys, man, I got 3 more tomorrow. I've got, I don't need to make that follow-up call. The company's going to keep feeding me. And, when they start realizing their close rate is going down because people are more hesitant, they have to work harder. Their process is going to be more important. That all the little things that they haven't been doing, the bad habits that they were able, like you said, to get away with because sales, hides all sins. All of a sudden, all that's going to become really important. So even though the stress is coming in and you're going to feel stress when you see that tide turn, just remember there's literally 20, 50, 100 levers that you have the control to change, but it's going to be different than what you've experienced the last 10 years. You just need to be prepared for it.
That is the key. And Chuck said he put a very relevant article in Chimney World. So thank you, Chuck, for doing that. Awesome. I do want to kind of close with this. So when I crashed it in 2008, I realized that it was all the things I wasn't doing. And it was all of the little things that you just said it, there's 100 places. Like this week, I literally, or the last couple of weeks, I went through my internet IT service that I was paying quite a bit a month for, and I got a new service that saved me probably $25,000 in the year. I got a new phone system that have had about 5 years. If you haven't checked that stuff in a while, that's going to save me $2,000 a month. So in a couple of meetings, I saved 50 grand in a year. And then you just go through and check all your stuff and your insurance, your workman's comp, your things. Like I went through the phone bill and I had a couple more phones I was paying for that were still sitting on there for some reason, and a couple iPads that were sitting on there. Like again, Rodney made the best point. I think you focus on efficiency and you focus on you're going to have to change what you do on a daily basis. I remember when I crashed it, I remember driving up to my business before it was happening, and as it was happening, how sick I felt going into a business that was failing, going into a business that was really hurting. I just hated going in there. But when I finally looked myself in the mirror and said, this is your fault for crashing it, this is your problem. And I really understood that it was going to have to be me that fixed it. And I got to work. I got in there and got to digging and working and fixing, not just kind of watching things happen. It changed. It made me change from victim to, and you can look back and, you're a victor. You went through the bad time. I wasn't ready for it, but man, it was some of the best stuff that probably could have ever happened to me. If it hadn't happened to me, probably wouldn't be where we are now. And one more thing, you said a lot of these guys have been in business for less than 10 years, and all you've seen is great stuff happening. A bunch of us old dogs have had that, and we fixed a few things. We don't want to go through it again. But, I think you batten down the hatches, you prepare for the storm. Hopefully it doesn't happen, or it's a light storm when we move on. But if it's a bad one, you got to dig inside and fix things. So when you come out of it, you're actually stronger for it. You've fixed a lot of those things that sales cover up. Let me make sure I don't have any more calls. Ted says, watching and learning from you too. No joke. Let's see. I've got a lot of people watching. This is it's a really well received live tonight. So Alan, thank you. Well, let's talk really quickly. We're doing the business symposium at my shop on Thursday and Friday. It's all the signups are pretty much done unless you're going to show up at the last minute. We probably are going to package the business symposium as a bundle thing. If you couldn't make it here, we're going to bundle that up as a thing you could buy on its own, or the CSIA will, so you can have all these talks from 11 really good business people. Sometimes it's hard to travel right now and people are busy, but there's going to be a lot of good information come out over the next couple of days. What are you talking about?
I'm actually talking about 2022 customer service trends and what we're seeing, and what are some of the things that we can do to make a difference in your office customer service side and the customer service side in your sales process. So
Nice.
and then since this is SureFire Live, if you're a SureFire subscriber, you should have received this month's course, which is electric fireplaces as an alternative, which is a nice narrated, updated course that the CSI put together on all the new electric fireplace options that are out there. And a lot of people are poo-pooing these as, oh my gosh, because they remember them from 5-10 years ago. But man, they have come a long way, and they're a serious player in certain situations, and they can actually make you some good profit. I've been selling some of the Dimplex, and man, you can make a couple grand on it for a 2-hour install. So
Chuck Roydhouse is a great example. And Chuck, Spark Marketers are going to reach out to you because Chuck's a fireman. Chuck was a fire guy his whole life, fireplaces, he smokes, he's a barbecue guy. And we installed an electric fireplace for him in his new house when he moved to Tennessee. A fantastic unit that is absolutely amazing. But to your point, and to one other thing on that, we replaced 100 units. A tornado hit an apartment complex. 100 units had to be replaced. And we gave them the opportunity to go back with a wood burning prefab or with an electric unit. 60% of the people, literally right down the line, picked electric. They wanted to go electric. They did not want a wood burning, although it was the same price. They're like, we'd rather have electric. It was easier. It's their apartments. And so we have to understand that's a very real thing coming. Anybody can install electric fireplace. So we have to be the company that does all the ancillary things around it.
That's right. And depending on your, I know the NCSG is working hard on some different advocacy stuff. Depending on your state, in city, there's some. I know a couple cities that as of 2024, you can't even install gas, let alone wood. I mean, it's going to 100% electric for new installs. So until people, I don't want to get political, but until people understand how we create electricity, it's a little mind blowing. But yeah, I mean, I think that I haven't actually watched the class yet to be fully transparent, but I'm looking forward to watching it because I'm definitely seeing that as an option. I'm even seeing people putting more of those into their showrooms as options for people.
They look good. We did one for him that was a Valor's unit. It's called a British Fires. Amazing looking. If you haven't seen them, Google British Fires and take a look at those things. They're amazing. So
awesome.
Well, cool, man. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, appreciate it. See you Thursday.
All right, bye. See you soon. All right, guys, man, great topic and really amazing amount of people responding back. And I appreciate that. And man, we'll get through it together. I know we got through COVID. We had a lot of talks about COVID, what we were all doing. We popped out on the other end of it. As far as I know, most all the businesses end up thriving from it, although they dipped and then they did better. If man, as a group, if we share our best practices as a group and we share and we try to care for each other and we tell each other what's working, what isn't working, and we listen to each other and reach out, man, that's how we get through this. We are a very resilient industry. And I had a couple guys on here from Sweden and Denmark, and they know it way better than we do, right? They've done this for hundreds of years, and heck, we've only done this thing since the late 70s. We're brand new at it, but we'll get through it. It could be rough, but we will get through it together and try to help each other all the way through. All right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll talk to you soon.